Peter Schrager and James Palmer, in the spirit of Rihanna, where have you been all my life? Those two are across town in Scottsdale. Guys, what's happening at the Chiefs Hotel this morning?
Well, good morning, Jamie, and good morning to Jason and Sean. A lot of excitement for the Angry Runs prom tonight, as you said. To give context, Kyle is presenting Angry Run of the Year at the NFL Honors.
It's come a long way.
It's come a long way, and Kyle is certainly nervous, but Kyle also is not going to wilt from the moment. Patrick Mahomes never wilts from the moment.
No.
And he, too, might have an angry run or 3 or 4. James, the ankle has been the story, but his mobility might play a huge role. You got a chance to speak with some of the Chiefs players yesterday. Talk about Mahomes' mobility and where we're at now as we are on Thursday of Super Bowl week.
That's why we're talking about it so much, because it could be possibly limited, but we don't know how much. And really, we're talking on Thursday. It's going to be practice Friday and Saturday to where he starts testing that mobility, he told me, to see if he can push it a little bit, to see how mobile he will be on Super Bowl Sunday, because he didn't really do that, if you remember, going into the AFC title game. When I talked to players in the locker room that Friday in Kansas City, I was like, what are we going to see on Sunday? And they were all like, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see, because he didn't really test it the entire week. And you saw that he was limited out there. It's in a better spot now than it was heading into the AFC title game. So they do believe he's going to be more mobile. And I think the point I'm bringing up with this is a football player. I was talking to tight end Jody Forston, who's, I believe, 6'4", 229, something like that. And he's like, I've played basketball against Pat. He starts backing you down onto the block.
You don't think of him as a big man.
He is a strong,
a point guard,
big person. And that plays a big part in how he's able to move on the field, because he said he's not a fragile guy back there. He's not intimidated by contact. That's how he's able to kind of play through this injury a little bit, because he thinks of himself more like a football player than a quarterback. So
interesting. And a great transition to our next reporter. You think you're good in the low post? You think you can deliver?
No, I don't, actually.
Okay, maybe Patrick Mahomes does. Jody Forston. Stacey Dales is with the Philadelphia Eagles. She is a legit baller. Stacey, what do you have on the quarterback situation in Philly?
Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts has been his unwavering self, but I actually just wanted to react to your conversation, guys. Good morning. Regarding Patrick Mahomes, these Eagles defensively, I will tell you, they're preparing for Patrick Mahomes to be Patrick Mahomes. They don't see any limitations with his mobility. In fact, when I talked to linebacker TJ Edwards yesterday, I asked him that, and he said, no, in fact, he said, I guarantee you Patrick Mahomes is coming out full strength to go and ready to go on Sunday. If anything, they're actually worried about, as you guys could imagine, him breaking the pocket and being Patrick Mahomes, which is extending plays. And they're very concerned about the explosive plays, because when he does break that pocket, as Edwards described it to me, you got tight ends crossing, you got receivers crossing, he's throwing across his body, and he's creating that Patrick Mahomes magic. So it's a huge key for them this week. They understand, as Fletcher Cox told me, how quickly he gets the ball out and how quickly he makes those reads. Whether he's in the pocket or he's out of the pocket, he's still Patrick Mahomes. And Jamie, these Eagles are certainly ready for the best version of Mahomes on Sunday.
Yeah, Stacey, it's such a good point. There's 31 offenses in the league that when a play breaks down, you're like, okay, I think I can handle this. And then when the Chiefs do it, you're like, oh, good God, I don't know if I can handle this defensively. It's a lot. It's a handful. And but if an Eagles defense can't do it, I don't think anybody else can. It's going to be awesome to watch that unfold on Sunday. Stacey Dales, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you in a little bit. So the Eagles, let's talk about some of those veterans for the Eagles. They selected Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, and Lane Johnson in 4 successive drafts. 5 years after winning Super Bowl 52 together, these 4 continue to define the franchise. Judy Battista chronicles Philadelphia's Core-4 in her latest column at NFL.com/Batista. They are a list of names in the trenches that oftentimes you might not think of those guys, but they've been around for so long that they have now become the Core-4 to the Eagles' success in Super Bowl 57. How key is their production on Sunday?
to be able to have a core four in general is just amazing. You think about it, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. Cox said earlier, he said, hey, we're like a married couple. We've been here together so long. So you have your married couple on defense and those two, and then you have your married couple on offense. And you know those couples that you're close with, that you go hang out with, you can just be yourself. You get to see each other argue in the low points, the high points. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles have, and that's amazing. And when you look at the amount of games these four players have played for the Philadelphia Eagles, and only the Eagles, they haven't played anywhere else. Look at all of those games. 170s, 127. Look at the combined down there at the bottom, 17 Pro Bowls. It's not just about having players play together, but having good players on the same team, leading on the field and off the field. And I look at this, and it's like time on task. The amount of time that these guys have spent together, not only playing in those 170-something odd games, but also the time during training camp, off-season workouts, when you make a West Coast trip and you go out a day early and you're hanging out with one another, getting a chance to bond. And then outside of the facility, married guys, you're going to each other's weddings, childbirths, birthdays, all of that time spent together, those conversations within the locker room of getting to know one another and building. When you're out there on the field and I'm playing next to you, Sean, and I know your why and I know what you've gone through and your journey, it means so much more to me. So for these four guys that have played this many games together, to have gone through adversity, to go to the highest point of winning a Super Bowl, now to be back there again, those are such special bonds that mean so much, that radiate throughout the entire locker room.
Yeah, it's the brotherhood, and that accountability factor, it gets magnified when you know somebody, when you know what makes them tick, you know what makes them motivated. Now all of a sudden you know how to communicate with them and how to push them and how to prod. I think these guys, you know, you said they've been in the mountaintop. Like the last time we saw them in the Super Bowl, they were wearing the dog mask, and Lane Johnson was talking about we're the underdog. This is a little bit different. You're not the underdog this time. I think a lot of people are saying you're the better team, so now the pressure is on them a little bit more than the last time. But guys like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, they understand it's about getting to the quarterback. And Brandon Graham, look, I think he should be up for Comeback Player of the Year. You know, he tore his Achilles early last year. This guy's come back with a vengeance, 11 sacks. And really, he would have had more sacks if Hassan Reddick didn't get there first. And I think when you look at how this team is built, I'm old enough to remember Vince Young claiming the Eagles were building a dream team. It didn't work out so well. This might be what he was talking about. He was just a little bit ahead of his time. This defense is the dream team. And I'll tell you what, you got Brandon Graham, you got Fletcher Cox defensively, Lane Johnson and Kelsey holding it down on the other side. But it doesn't work unless you have a little sweat. You got to have some sweat equity. So give me some Josh Sweat alongside Brandon Graham. I think this is the guy that kind of is flying under the radar right now because everybody's focusing on Hassan Reddick. And the Chiefs are going to have a plan. We're going to chip. We're going to have a tight end. We're going to help our right tackle out. So Hassan Reddick's getting a lot of the attention. So is Fletcher Cox. The guy on the other side, Josh Sweat, this guy is slippery. Here you see him, you know, beating some of the NFL's best left tackles for sacks. That was Bakhtiari. He beat Andrew Thomas earlier on. This guy had the second most quarterback hits on the team. So he's getting after the quarterback. He's very slippery. He gets skinny in all the right spots. Here's the other thing. He led the team in tackles for a loss. So this guy's playing exceptionally well against the run. First and second down, he's not just a pass rusher. So I like the core four. I like the fact that they've got a young buck in Josh Sweat as well. No doubt these guys are going to have to make some plays, and if they want to hoist that championship trophy and don another ring.
Let's just give props to Philadelphia for having a hell of a draft 4 years in a row. Yeah. You got 3 first-round guys out of those 4 in BG, Fletcher Cox, and Lane Johnson. Jason Kelsey's a 6th-round guy. But to go back-to-back to back-to-back in the trenches and have commitment to that, because it's very easy to fall into the sexy trap of getting an offensive guy, getting a skill player guy, especially in the first round. But to stay dedicated to knowing what sustains a team. The fact that 10, 11, 12, 13 years later, these are your first-round draft picks panning out, playing, still having high production in a Super Bowl. But here's the thing that I think about these 4 guys. I think they have to have their best game yet as a core 4, because if you're going to beat Patrick Mahomes, good ankle, bad ankle, no ankle, doesn't matter. You got to be able to produce on both sides of the ball. Somehow what the offensive line does could affect Travis Kelce, or could affect Patrick Mahomes. It can keep your offense on the field and keep him off the field. So if you want to be the core 4 and embody a new name, if you will, for your group, you got to have your best performance yet, better than the previous Super Bowl that you won together. Just a small shout out, too, I want to say about this man sitting right here and his brother and the McCourty family. The statistic that Devin McCourty, Jason's brother, and Matthew Slater are two players that have the longevity on a team to have won a Super Bowl together. Multiple Super Bowls. Now the Core-4 could become a multiple Super Bowl group. That's such a cool thing. I think that's fantastic.
They've won 3.
They've won 3 together. Oh, man, that's a hell of a run. The Core-4 has a little bit more work to do. Peter, what do you think about the Core-4? How much relying on this group do you think will have to be done by the Eagles?
Think about this. Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox both have the C on their jersey. They have been teammates for 11 seasons. I mean, just think about that. 11 seasons. And if they can bookend their careers with this and, of course, the Super Bowl they had in 2017, it's amazing. But I want to go to the future, too, because when you're that player, and Sean and Jason, I know you guys have been down the road as, hey, the veteran guy in the locker room, and they keep on drafting young guy after young guy. You could either be threatened by it or you can embrace it. And when they took in the draft both Jordan Davis, a 6'6", 360-pound defensive tackle, and Cam Jurgens, a center who is nimble and can do all the things, and went the round after. It could have been very easy for Fletcher Cox and for Jason Kelce to be like, you know what? They're drafting my replacement. I don't want to be here. I've asked all these Philadelphia coaches over the season, like, tell me about those two guys and how they handle that. They have been mentors. They have passed on the game. Jason Kelce's been amazing to Cam Jurgens. Fletcher Cox has been amazing to Jordan Davis. I think that is going to be the greatest gift. If these guys can obviously win a second Super Bowl and then pass the torch at some point to the next guy up, that is a true testament of leadership. It's also a true testament to their careers and where they're leaving the Philly franchise. The Core-4 is amazing. I grew up in New Jersey where it was Posada and it was Jeter and it was Mariano Rivera and it was Bernie Williams. That was the Core-4. The Eagles have theirs, and I love the fact that they're embracing the young guys and bringing them along simultaneously while they're still playing at a high level.
Peter, it's an awesome point. Longevity is cool, but winning championships is what makes a group like that so successful, and it really proves you right, and it keeps doing so 10 years later. Shregs, talk to you in a little bit, man. Hang around. Don't drop your microphone and keep drinking your hot tea. Save that voice. Still to come here on Good Morning Football on a Thursday. We're going to send you back to Arizona momentarily. The game plans are in. They're all set, and what remains is just to play the game. We are